Blog Talk Radio.
Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. And I am the light within your soul. In the essence of truth and right, love makes the circle whole. And here we stand in line, waiting for some sacred sign. But to find the balance is the purpose of this time. To restore the balance of the universal mind. And in the presence of my Lord of light and love, everything I see aspiring to be free. And when I call to thee, and come on bended knee, surrender to the all-pervading light and love. Reflections of the one surrounding me with love. And I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Within and without, above and below, yeah. East, west, north and south, I sense your presence. Without and within, below and above, yeah. East, west, north and south, I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Presence of my Lord of light and love, everything I find in tune with the divine. And here we stand in line, waiting for some sacred sign. But to find the balance is the purpose of this time. Restore the balance of the universal mind. And I am the light within your soul. In the essence of truth and right, love makes the circle whole. And when I call to thee, and come on bended knee, surrender to the all-pervading light and love. Reflections of the one surrounding me with love. For to find the balance is the purpose of this time. To restore the balance of the universal mind. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat holy angel of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. I sense your presence.
And thank you for joining me here tonight on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I am your hostess. The music you were listening to there at the beginning of the show is I Sense Your Presence. It's by Shemshai, a group that I met while I was in Arizona and connected with them while I was doing some work with friends in the Sedona area. Now they're traveling all over the world, being wonderful, creating incredible music over and over again. And I just want to extend a welcome, whether you're joining us for the first time or whether you're returning and you've listened to previous shows that we've had here. Here at Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, I'd look at the different ways that compassion exists in our lives, how to remove our blocks, resistances, frustrations, and more. Some weeks I'm discussing different aspects of how compassion is in our life, how it affects our life, and the different areas of compassion. Some weeks I'm doing more exercises and practical implementations. Most of the time, especially this year, I've got guests on the shows, and that way it allows you to learn about their work and how other things complement and fit in with compassion. And then I also highlight different musical artists along the way. Not too long ago, we had Jill Maxson on the show. Earlier this year, we had Stephen Halpern. The end of last year, Claire Hedin, and Peter Cater is coming up in a couple of weeks. And for those of you that aren't familiar with him, he has been nominated for 7 Grammys in the last 8 years. So a lot of great music coming out from his work. And, so we do a lot of different things here on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. In my own personal work, I focus on helping people find and use compassion in their everyday lives. I've created the Genesis Clearing Statement, which some of you may have experienced on previous shows. And if you missed that, you can actually go back to the interview that Kevin Baird, one of our other hosts, did of me, and that would have been, around September of last year, and catch the archives on that. It was a great show for learning how that works. And then also I've authored 2 books titled Activating Compassion and also Activating Compassion, the workbook, and I'm soon to have 2 more books coming out. Basically, those books are done. I just need to kind of finish up with some of the publishing part of it, and then I'll have them ready to go for you. I've also created the Compassion Tour, which is a multi-state nationwide tour, including workshops, retreats, seminars, book signings, and fundraising events. And I'm working on creating things for this year. Looks like things are happening in the fall this year. It's going to include actually a presentation that I'm doing at the Matriarch Gathering, which will be in the Durango, Colorado area the first weekend of October. And there will be some other things going on as well around that time. And there are events already that you can sign up for and register for that I have going on every weekend from now through the end of August. And you can find out about the Compassion Tour and the other events at JessieAnnNicholsGeorge.eventbrite.com. And also there's an option for gifting the tour there. So if you're unable to attend and you want to support what I'm doing, you can also gift the tour. So that's a great option as well. Just a reminder, if you enjoy the show this evening, make certain that you're sharing it with friends and family, all of your social network people out there, because a lot of times there's people out there and this is exactly the thing that they're looking for. It's exactly the show they're looking for. So they can just use the same link to come into the show that you did and listen to it at their convenience through the archives. So they can also find archives like on my Activating Compassion Facebook page, which is facebook.com/activatingcompassion/notes, as well as on my website, which is www.JessieAnnNicholsGeorge1, that's the number 1.com. So both places have all of the archive shows there. Now, before we get started on everything, as those of you that have listened to the show before know, I like to delve into a book called The 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul. It's by Yehuda Berg. And I love Yehuda's work just because, kind of like the way I like to present things, he likes to take big concepts and put it into everyday ideas in life and things like that. And I like to randomly open, so every week we get a message, and then this message gets posted on my Main Street Universe page on my website as well. So it's always there if you want to go back and look at it and check it out and see. So it's always interesting how things fit in and come together. And let's see what we've got tonight when we randomly go into our book here. And tonight's message, or tonight's name of God that we have, is angelic influences. And the message that goes with this is, the universe is seething with both positive and negative angelic forces. Forget those images of cherubs. In truth, an angel is a particle of spiritual energy. Like subatomic particles, angels pop in and out of existence from our words, thoughts, and actions. And the insight that he gives on this is, our senses and consciousness are by design limited. Therefore, the power of angels remains out of sight to the eye and elusive to the rational mind. But, like the wind, gravity, or radiation, the influence of angels is very real. Did you ever accidentally slip and fall for no apparent reason? Hit your thumb instead of the nail with a hammer? Make a really, really stupid decision? Experience a losing streak that seemed to never end? This is the influence of negative angelic forces at work. Good fortune is the result of the influence of positive angels. Acts and words that embody sharing, tolerance, compassion, and self-control over our ego and its constant stream of judgments ignite positive forces. They also end the existence of negative angels. Behavior that exemplifies selfishness and intolerance creates negative forces. According to quantum physics, countless subatomic particles are constantly coming in and out of existence in all parts of the universe at every moment. At this microscopic level, these so-called virtual particles can pop into existence for brief moments before returning to nothingness, causing up and down energy fluctuations. This is another example of science discovering the physical counterpart of spiritual reality. And it's interesting with this because in my work with compassion, and any of those that have had the chance to read my books, you realize that one of the things I talk about is really when you're wanting something in your life, to go out and give that to somebody else. So when you're wanting compassion, give compassion. When you're wanting help and assistance, give help and assistance. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So this is an interesting thing. And then in doing that, what Yehuda is saying, you draw those positive angelic forces into you or into your life. Now, the meditation he gives with this is, using this name, you now access the network of angels. You remove negative angels and their chaotic influence from your life. You ignite the force of positive angels, and all this power is activated by your sincere commitment toward transforming your character. And the way that this name is pronounced is He Zayin Yud. He Zayin Yud. So you can go in and you can use those words to draw on positive angelic influences. And that's our message from Yehuda. Wonderful message tonight. And I think it's very appropriate considering we're talking about stress, and a lot of people are going through stress and trying to combat that, and where is it coming from and how to get out of it. So, when we look at that, I just want to touch a little bit on this topic tonight. And stress oftentimes is associated with negative or tense situations in our lives. So kind of like Yehuda was saying, negative angelic or tense angelic influences there. When we refer to people as having stress, a picture of someone that is overworked, struggling, and down on their luck is oftentimes what comes to mind. But is stress really all bad? And can we use stress to assist in our lives? As a person that believes in things that usually are neutral, usually that's how I see them, as they're neutral, it seems to me that stress can be a motivator for us as well. And like many things, too much stress can push us over the edge. But some stress is oftentimes involved even in the greatest of blessings. A wedding may be a happy occasion. However, there is also still lots of stress involved with it. A promotion, raise, and obtaining a dream job can be real blessings, yet with them may also be stress. In my experience, stress can be used to motivate us to get going. And many times, the stress of hitting rock bottom has helped people turn their lives around into something amazing. Like most things, it seems to me that it is all how we utilize stress. We can either let it overwhelm us or harness its power and let it help us dig deep within ourselves and draw out a strength that we may not have been aware that we even had. Now, Dr. Linda Berry, who's our guest tonight, puts an emphasis on using stress to fuel the power to manifest dreams and enhance our life. And she believes that stress doesn't have to break us down, but can actually build us up. And I love this concept, and it brings to mind the concept of realizing that it is up to us how we will harness an energy. It reminds me that moderation is a big key. And a little bit can add to our lives, but too much can halt our lives. So think about these questions here for a moment. How has stress impacted your life? How have you used stress to benefit you? Does stress send negative triggers of trauma? Or do you grab hold of its reins and do you seize that adventure that it offers? And how has stress helped you develop yourself? This week, our guest focuses on a component of compassion that is related to the aspect in my books titled No More Pain. And with this aspect, we can realize that painful situations are a passing thing. They will not remain with us forever, and we are moving into something better. We come to understand that we've got more power and control in the situation than a lot of times we think we have. And it's about facing our fears and not being afraid of failing or failure, which is really nothing more than part of learning, how to get into success. It's part of the learning curve, and therefore it's not really a true failure. For as long as we learn from what doesn't work, we've still succeeded. I'm going to take a short break, and when we return, I'm going to have Dr. Linda Berry with us. She's going to be sharing the work that she does with turning stress into fuel, which powers our lives and dreams. And the song I've got for you during our break is called 10 Commandments. It is by Claire Hedin. And if you want to find out more about Claire's work and her music, you can do so at www.clairehedin.com, and that's CLAREHEDIN.com. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
A thing you have made, you shall not covet anything that they have. Rest content with who you are. Invoke my name to appease your own vanity. Covenant you have made up and day. You shall rest one penny that belongs to another from slavery. Do not covet anything they have. Honor your father, your mother, that you may live long and enjoy the land that I have given you. Rest content with who you are. Deny your neighbor. You shall not idolize a thing you have made. You shall not covet anything that they have. Rest content with who you are. Invoke my name to appease your own vanity. Covenant you have made up and day. You shall rest one penny that belongs to another You shall rest one day that belongs to another slavery. Do not covet anything they have. Honor your father, your mother, that you may live long and enjoy the land that I have given you. Rest content with who you are, deny your neighbor. You shall not idolize a thing you have made. You shall not covet anything that they have. Rest content with who you are. Devote my name to appease your vanity. Covenant you have made up and you shall rest one day.
Welcome back. You are listening to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, and my name is Jessie Ann Nichols George. I am your hostess this evening. You were just listening to 10 Commandments, which is by Claire Hedin, and she has a lot of variety in her music beyond what I've just shared with you. So if you'd like to find out more about her work and the work that she's doing, she does some amazing earth projects and organizations as well as her music. And you can do that at www.clairehedin.com. That's CLAREHEDIN.com. And I would like to bring on my guest tonight here, Dr. Linda Berry. She is the author of Internal Cleansing and has produced 2 CDs, Breast Health and the Inner Smile Trilogy, and a DVD, Tantra for Health, Enlightenment and Bliss. Her work encompasses chiropractic care, nutrition, trauma healing. Dr. Berry also works with rejuvenation, nutrition counseling, stress reduction, weight loss, detoxification, hormone balancing, kinesiology, pain relief, auto sports and work injuries. We are going to be looking tonight here at her work to transform stress into fuel to power your life and dreams. And she knows how to do this because at 24 years old, she smashed through the windshield of her car, which crushed her spine and left her paralyzed. And the show here is part of a 3-part series on dealing with PTSD and those with PTSD. And you can find out more about Dr. Linda's work at www.drlindaberry.com. And I think you're going to enjoy this show tonight because it's not just strictly a PTSD focus. It's dealing with stress and ways that we're handling stress. So let me get her mic opened up here. That is if my system wants to work with me here tonight to get her mic opened up. Well, we're going to hope. There we go. I think we're getting there. All right. Dr. Linda, it is wonderful to have you here tonight on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour.
What an awesome thing to do, be part of this show. I love the title.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving your time to us here tonight and sharing your wisdom and your experience and everything that you've been through, because I know that what you have to share tonight is really going to be useful and helpful to our listeners. And so I'm very excited to have you here. Now,
thank you.
I would like to start off here tonight with having you share, and I gave a little blurb there into your life, but I would like you to share with us a little bit about you, who you are, how you got here, and what led you into doing all this incredible work that you're doing.
Well, I think it started when I was 2, Jessie. At least that's what my mother said. I was in a crib, and the kiddies used to come in, and I used to grab them up in my arms and dangle their lower feet, and I think that was my first adjustments, chiropractic adjustments. Since I've gotten much better, but it's always been a passion of mine to help people to heal and to help them eliminate suffering and elevate well-being. That's really my purpose here on the planet. So, many of us come from difficult family situations. I certainly did. So there was early childhood trauma. And then I had my dream life. I got off on my own away from my family, and I was in college, and I was invited by a modern dance company to join the dance company after I had graduated with my bachelor's of arts in theater with a specialization in dance. So that was very fortunate. It was called the American Dance Asylum, and I was with the company for a couple of years. And one night after a performance run, 3 of us were driving down to New York City in a U-Haul van, and I was hitching a ride with Bill and Arnie, who were in seats with seatbelts on. We're in our 20s. We think we're immortal, so I was sleeping on cushions between those 2 seats. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. We had worked hard on our dance run performance, so I deserved that rest. And then I woke up in the hospital, paralyzed from the waist down. Ended up staying in the hospital for 3.5 months and was released in a wheelchair. I had to have long leg braces with locks at the knees so that I could stand up straight, Jesse. And in order to walk, I had to have underarm crutches on each side. And I spent the summer, my grandmother was dying, and lived upstate New York, and there was a pond in the backyard, so I would take my braces and crutches out to the pond, and I would swim for a while. And then after my grandmother died, I swam at a Jewish community center and got myself back to the point where I am now, but it wasn't good enough to be a dancer, a professional dancer anymore with a modern dance company. I still have residual paralysis and what's called a drop foot on the right. So then it's decision time, right? What am I going to do with my life now that I can't dance? And I had been helped by a chiropractor when I was a dancer prior to the accident. So I decided to marry my interest, my longtime interest since I was 17 years old in nutrition, with my training in chiropractic to offer those services to people. They helped me to heal, and I wanted to help others to heal. And then later on in my career as a chiropractor, I did professional training with Peter Levine, who's created somatic experiencing or trauma healing, and one of his books is called Waking the Tiger, which many of you may be familiar with. So I also include that into my practice. And since I practice in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, when I first moved here, I saw a flyer for a Mantak Chia, Master Mantak Chia, who teaches healing Tao techniques. And so I've been doing those for my personal health and spiritual development and growth for the last 31 years. And I'm also a meditation teacher in those techniques. So the offering that Jesse's been telling you about tonight, transforming stress into vitality to fuel your life and dreams, comes from a combination of the healing Tao work. Master Chia teaches a technique called the inner smile, and with his blessing, I've created my modifications to that. It's called Smile into Distress, and that's part of the Inner Smile Trilogy, and I give that away for free. So anybody who's listening at any point, either now or in the future, you could go to smileintodistress.com, smileintodistress.com, and sign up to receive a free 15-minute audio. That's a portion of the Inner Smile Trilogy. It will send a free file.
Too. That's on your website as well.
That's correct. That's on my website, drlindaberry.com, and you can also access it through smileintodistress.com. So that's one part of it, and then another part of it is Smile into Ecstasy, because we need joy and ecstasy and happiness in our life. And the final part, the longest part, is Smile into your body. So that's taking you through 3 roots, your organs, your digestive tract, and the brain and nervous system, and then that takes you out to all the other parts of your body. So each of your cells gets kissed with the inner smile, and transforms the negativity into vitality and into positivity. So Jesse was talking earlier about using stress to transform. And in the Taoist system, we kind of think of stress as compost. And so we transform that compost into nutrients to nourish virtue energy and to nourish spiritual development, as well as to nourish our health. So perhaps sometime during this evening, we can have a bit of an experience of that where I guide you listeners through a process of transforming your stress into vitality.
I would love to do that tonight. A little bit later in the evening, I'd like to give you the time to do that and take us through that, definitely. And I love your phrasing of relating stress to compost.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because it feels pretty yucky when you're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you learn to dry off those nutrients, you can really grow into something amazing.
Absolutely. So my life is really about working with people one-on-one, in groups, and through my educational materials that Jesse's already mentioned to you, so that we can have a better world to live in.
And this is so important, and I'm so glad to have you on at this time where we're in this major transformational period where really we're bringing out that better world at this time. It's really important for us to take that time to let ourselves elevate and learn how to work with these stressor factors, because this is the time where we have a lot of stressors going on in this transformational, global, universally transformational time. And so learning the techniques that you have to share with us, learning your information that you have to share, it couldn't, I would say, be more timely, really, with things.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to take a long time. I don't want you who are listening to think that this is difficult and, oh, my God, I've got to learn to do something else. It's the way we perceive what's happening, and I'm sure all of us, need to hear this more, but it's not what happens to us, but the way we relate to what happens to us that affects our experience. So we can either let it drag us down, or we can turn it around and move forward with our life regardless of and accepting what is, and still moving forward with a positive direction. Our brains are hardwired for negativity. So, it's not your fault if you get stuck in a negative thought loop, negative self-talk, negative talk about others, unhappiness about what's going on in your life. Mother Nature doesn't care, Jesse, if we are happy. Mother Nature just cares that we live long enough to procreate and continue our species. That's part of the primal drives of all life on Earth. So we need, it's said, 5 times the amount of positive experiences to neutralize or accommodate for every negative experience that happens. So what I'm going to encourage everybody to do is to just notice, like right now. Notice that you're okay. You're sitting, you're laying down, maybe you're doing dishes or cooking or whatever you're engaged in physically. Just look around and notice. You can hear my voice. Perhaps it's soothing to you. You can feel your feet on the ground. You can look around. Maybe there's some beautiful colors, some beautiful art, beautiful night sky, beautiful morning sky, whatever time you're listening to this. So just look around and notice what's okay. Notice what's nice. And I encourage everybody to do that frequently throughout the day so that we can add up our coin, our treasure in the goodness pile. And one of the nice images that I've gotten and experiences from doing the healing Tao work is that in the center of our body, so if you drew a line down the middle of our head, down the middle of our pubic bone into the earth, and then you drew a line halfway between our feet and our head, that would be approximately below your belly button. And just below your belly button and inside about an inch or so, you can imagine that you have a recycling center, so that everything that's not good, you can pour into that refuse recycling center and just grind it up or liquefy it or burn it into mineral ash, whatever image works for you, chopping it up into tiny pieces so that it becomes digestible nutrients for your body. And then water that with your smile. Let a happy memory, cook that into a delicious cake right there in the middle of your body. And then you create the goodness out of the compost, out of the negative experience. And then you can allow that to begin to glow, nourished by your fire, nourished by your smile, nourished by a connection to the earth and the heavens and the cosmic energies, whatever ancestors or angels that you may feel around you, joining all of this power and blessing together to then glow and radiate, maybe like you imagine you have a warm oven in your belly and that warms up the rest of you. Or if you're too hot, imagine you've got this creates just the cool temperature that you need to make your body and your mind and your spirit feel just perfect. So that's right there in your belly button, near your belly button. If you can imagine next to each other, you can compost it and then turn it into treasure for yourself. And always you can store this treasure so that you can reach in at any point in the day just with your awareness, sinking your mind and your eye into your belly brain, into your belly treasure chest, and drawing out some of that jewel, some of that coin, some of that nourishment that you were able to get by noticing one moment that something was okay, so that you can deal with the next thing that maybe is not so okay. It's right inside of you.
Wow. And that's a really great way to bring in and start to think, because I think a lot of us, we have that stress or something there and we're not sure where to put it or what to do with it. So knowing that we've got this place that we can take it and put it and do something with is, I think, really an important thing, because our mind almost needs that. It needs to think, okay, put here, do this, so that it can actually release that heavy-duty thinking space.
Yeah, it's empowering, don't you think? To know that you've got sort of this raw material. It's like if you had a wood stove, it's like having raw wood that you put in to burn to create heat and warmth and energy, or if it's you like to cook, it's like putting all the ingredients together right to make a delicious pie, so you can, or savory, so that you can enjoy that later. It's within our power to turn on the chemistry of bliss. There's a wonderful woman who's done a lot of research and found out that our brain has opium receptors in it. And if we've got opium receptors, why would we have opium receptors unless we had opium-like substances that our body produced? So it is within our physical focusing awareness power to create happy hormones, because the architecture and the biochemistry is there. Of course, you've got to provide good nutrients, to your body. You've got to eat healthy food. You've got to be rested. If we don't get enough sleep and rest, our mind goes cuckoo. So we got to get enough rest. We've got to drink enough liquids, particularly water, so that we can rinse out the toxins. So we've got to have healthy bowel movements a few times a day, because if our intestines are blocked up, that can affect our brain too. So it's not like, just thinking happy thoughts is the only thing, but it creates part of a strong foundation for being able to experience happiness, joy, and bliss in our lives.
Yeah, definitely. And just that whole aspect of that whole transformation aspect, kind of like, okay, you're going to give me something you don't like, I'm going to grind it up and I'm going to turn it into something that's going to be useful for me.
I have a wonderful story that I'd like to share, if this is a good time, about that.
Sure.
One of my early teachers and colleagues in the Healing Tao lived in Boston, and he used to pass by. You know how crazy people in cities often adopt one corner and they sort of hang out there? And he said, he would go by this guy, and sometimes he would avoid him because he just didn't want to feel his energy or whatever. And one day he was kind of mulling in his own thoughts, and he had learned a technique called fusion from Master Chia, which I also am authorized to teach. And all of a sudden he was aware that he was right by this angry guy, and the angry guy just started spewing forth anger at him, cursing at him and yelling at him and just being, like a pot boiling over with anger. And his name was Gunther Wheel, my colleague. And Gunther said that he didn't even have to think about it, but the anger just entered inside this center part of his belly, and all of a sudden it transformed, and he noticed that it was like drinking a cappuccino. He got this big burst of energy that came from the transformation that happened inside his own internal alchemy when the anger came directed to him, like, somebody threw a bucket of pain at him, instead they threw a bucket of anger at him. And he was able to take it in and transform it into a lot of good energy for the rest of the day.
And I think that that's one of those things that people kind of forget about sometimes, is they forget about it is simply energy.
Right.
And we get so wrapped up in that word or that trigger or something, but it's really energy. And that's, for the most part, neutral. You take the energy in, it doesn't have to remain negative. You can take it and use it for something else. And use it for that charge, and use it for that aspect of revving up some of our own power in there, which is really exciting. Now, in your work, have you experienced people that have problems that just never seem to go away? Like maybe they have recurring health problems or money issues or whatever, and how would somebody deal with that?
That's a really good question, Jessie, because, many of us have something like that just is a little wound that stays with us and keeps opening up because of different triggers that happen that take us past the point of being able to tolerate or endure or be okay with what's going on in our life. So one thing is to just notice it. So this is a technique from the trauma healing community. If we can, instead of feeling a victim to what's going on, instead move into our wise woman or wise man persona, that part of ourselves that keeps us out of trouble, that it's like the good angel on the one shoulder, and that good angel is talking into our ear, that higher self, that higher wisdom part of oneself. And we can look at what's going on, the stress, the negativity, the pain, the financial problems, the bad relationship, the bad feeling over the relationship, or what happened to you 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. These things can continue to haunt us. So one way of beginning to deal with it is to just step away from feeling that it's inside of you and instead observe it. And another word for that is to track it. So, for instance, if we think of our body, usually when something bad happens, we get tension in our chest or in our solar plexus area or in our stomach. Sometimes it's our neck and shoulders. Normally there's a place in each individual's body where they store their stress, or the primary area where they tend to store their stress. And it may be related, that place may be related to having been traumatized in some way in that area, either through a medical procedure or sexual abuse or physical abuse, or when somebody is emotionally abusive, like a turtle wants to pull its head into the shell. Who wants to be around that, So you might develop this body pattern of pulling your shoulders down towards your ears and your shoulders up towards your ears. And that tension pattern is something that becomes a habit in your body. So just noticing where that tension is, you might even do that now. Just take a look into your body for a moment. I invite you to do this and to see, is there any place where there's tension? Is there any place where it hurts? Is there any place where you're uncomfortable or you're nauseous? Something is upset. And instead of feeling it like, oh my God, I am hurting, oh my goodness, there in my stomach, I notice a knot. And just taking that step outside of the pain, the discomfort, the upset emotion can give you a perspective that allows you to begin to take deeper breaths, for instance. And as you take deeper breaths, what's happening? You're getting a massage from the inside out, aren't you? And most of us like massages. So that's your body's way, taking a deep breath, of opening up, expanding, and then as you exhale, just letting go of the tension, the pain, the discomfort that's there. So that's step number one. Step number two is to focus on what's okay. So normally, there might be a part of your body, maybe it's only 10% of your body, but it's got 90% of your attention. Now, what would happen if you paid attention, you put 90% of your attention on 90% of your body that's okay? I think you know the answer to that. If you put more attention onto what feels okay, that part that's not okay begins to have less power over you. It begins to relax. It begins to unravel. It begins to unwind. It begins to resolve. You begin to be able to change the past in the present just by how you relate to what happened to you in the past. A good way to think of this, Jessie, is to think of a pendulum, right? I don't know if anybody has seen a clock where there's a pendulum that goes back and forth, right and left. And so on the one hand, we can track what's bad, just notice it and become okay with it gradually. And on the other hand, on the other side of the pendulum swing, we can notice what's okay. And as we begin to notice what's okay, our physiology changes. So if you have a pain on the right side, you can focus on the left. And as you focus on the left, there's actually a phenomenon called spillover in the spinal cord. So as you focus on what's good on the left, you're generating more positive hormones. You're generating more circulation to carry these positive hormones through the area so that they spread and they begin to, they begin to spread over to the side where there's not such a good feeling. And the goodness from the left side begins to ease and resolve and release the not so good feeling on the right side. So that's a wonderful thing to do with your mind when you're having trouble. Another possibility is to focus on your extremities. So remember, Jesse, we talked about before how when people get uptight, they get tight in their abdomen. They get tight in their chest. So that's in the core of the body. So if we bring our focus and our awareness and our attention to the periphery, to the ends of our body, to our fingertips or our hands or fingers, to our toes or our feet, that helps to decentralize the tension in the middle. It helps it to begin to unravel and unwind. And if you think of a knot, what do? You start to tease apart the ends of the knot from each other so that you can unravel that knot and it begins to unwind. So if you could use that image in terms of your body, you're unraveling the knot that's in your guts or in your chest or in your neck or in your jaw or in your pelvis by focusing on the edges of your body, your hands and your feet.
And, those parallels are so important, that pictorial of feeling and thinking about, well, does this feel like a knot in my stomach, as you say, is so important. And that visual of going in and seeing yourself objectively and going in and untying that knot, sometimes we laugh at those things and we think, well, that seems like kind of a silly thing to do. That seems like a funny little parallel to do there. But in visualizing that and seeing ourselves do it, we actually create that releasing, because that knot is just a picture. It's a representation of what's really happening there. And so with that representation, whatever it's representing naturally gets undone.
And that brings up a point, Jessie. Some of us are very visually oriented, and all of us have a slightly different combination. Some of us are more kinesthetic or feeling or movement related, and some of us are more auditory. So you need to work with what's going to unravel your knots. So Jessie's saying that Jessie may be a very visual person. A person who's more kinesthetic might need to actually put their hand on top of the place where the knot is, or they might consciously start to breathe into that spot in their body, or they might gently begin to move and circle and wiggle that or jiggle that part of their body where they feel the tension. And somebody who's auditory, what they might do is they might focus on the sound vibration. So the place where there's tension, you might actually go ooh, or ha, or ooh, or, whatever, any vowel sound. And you can send that auditory vibration to that area. And the auditory vibration could be something that helps set you free. And, all of us have influences, one or another. And then there's a very small percentage of people who are orally, or the sense of smell seems to be the best for them. So what that person might do is have a particular flower essence or essential oil or a memory of a beautiful aroma or a particular tea that they like to make that can help bring them back to that state of centeredness where all is okay. So if you don't know what those are, then I would encourage you to start experimenting. You might make a list. What's going to make me feel better? And notice, is it more visually oriented? Do you need to look at beauty? Do you need to paint and see images come out before you? Would you be better listening to music or singing or toning or chanting? See what kind of words you use. Like, I see myself looking out into the future as a way to help unravel my tension. That would be someone who's visually oriented. Or, when I listen to my internal voice, what I hear is, so then sound may be more important for you. Or for those of you who already know, you can't sit still, then a kinesthetic, a movement, a touch thing is probably the thing that's going to be best for setting you free.
And that is a great reminder, because I think a lot of times when people get tools, it's like, okay, you've got to do it this way, and you've got to visualize it, or you've got to speak this phrase. And you're bringing up such an important point that you've got to take some of those things, you've got to transform them to the way that you experience things. Because when you do that and you put it into the form that you best receive, it's going to have a greater impact for you. It's going to have a greater effect. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, too, with these things, and you definitely gave us some great insight for, dealing with those things that never seem to go away, which I think a lot of people kind of feel like, I've had so many bad things happening for the last 10 years. But what about those things that have happened to us in the past, and why do we keep thinking about bad things from the past?
Well, the short answer to that, Jesse, is that they never resolved. So that's the signature of a traumatic event. When we think about it in the current time, and it's as if it just happened. So what that means is that your nervous system has never had the opportunity to resolve that trauma. And if the suggestions that I'm making to you this evening don't work, or they don't feel like they'd be enough, I encourage you to respect that intuition and to find somebody who does trauma healing work so that they can help guide you through the process. In the trauma healing community, my training taught us to look for, and I'll give you a mnemonic for this, it's SIBAM, SIBAM. So along with any negative experience, there can be sensations, there can be images, or particular behaviors that you might act out. A man who is abused tends to beat his children or the woman in his life. This is acting out a behavior that came from their past. It could be affect or mood. So some people go into rages and some people dissociate. They leave their body. Those are the two opposite ends of the spectrum. Some people become paralyzed with depression. So what's going on in terms of affect? And then the last one is memories, the M for SIBAM. So whenever you're dealing with a particular situation, it may come to you in any of those ways in order for you to resolve and release that trauma from the past. And if, some people who've had physical abuse, it's very difficult for them to feel what's going on in their body. So they might be an architect who works from outside of their body and noticing what's going on in their body. Or they might work with other things like listening to music or chanting or painting or doing movement or singing in order to release it so that they don't focus on their body and where they were hurt and become re-traumatized. And something else that I would like to say about this, Jesse, is it often depends on the time of life that people have experienced the trauma. So people who have children who have been traumatized early, boundary violations, the brain doesn't get to develop properly when that happens. We're supposed to be having communication between our frontal brain, our midbrain, and our subbrain, and between the right and the left sides of the brain. And those interconnections don't get made in the brains of children who have been abused. So it doesn't mean that they're never going to be able to reconnect or make those connections later in life, but they need to really focus on what's okay, maybe sometimes work with an expert or give. One of the ways that we can heal ourselves is to give to others and help others, do volunteer work. If, sitting and focusing on yourself doesn't take you in the direction, give to somebody that you want to go. Give to somebody else and try to help others. And, maybe some of you are giving too much to other people and you're not giving enough to yourself. So it's always a balance that we need to strive for, right, Jesse?
Absolutely, and I'm saying that because you can actually get what some people in the past have referred to as caregiver burnout and things.
That's right.
And your analogy of the Saibam, I think too, the way that we take it in is also a way that we can heal. And this, your model there actually explains why different modalities work for different people. If it's sensation trauma, that oftentimes that music can be a great healer. People talk about music being that great healer, or visualization for those that deal with images and so on. And it seems to me too, even with higher levels of trauma, using the technique that you shared with us at the beginning of the show with the composting could be very valuable in combination with these other things. And your comments about the brain is coincides also with some guests I had on last week, Shirley Beach and Wanda Sanchez, and they also mentioned about that trauma gets locked on the right side of the brain and doesn't get transferred over into the memory area, and that's why it keeps coming back up too. So you kind of touched how that's definitely the same. And I just got a question that came up here in the chat area, so I was going to take a look at that. And he is asking, from one of our chatters, is asking, what is the symbols of stress and poor circulation in the solar plexus and heart area on the lower left side? The stress and poor circulation is connected when I don't quite have the last word there, symbolism. So he's wondering about symbolism. Is there symbolism that correlates with stress and having poor circulation in that solar plexus or left side of the body? Now, I know in some of my experiences that the left side of the body deals with receiving on a symbolic level, but love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, sure. This comes from the 5-element concept, Jesse, from the Healing Tao principles that I learn and teach. So right at that solar plexus area on the left is the area for the spleen and the pancreas. And the spleen and the pancreas are related to, on the positive side, the sweetness of life. So for somebody who's constantly anxious and worried, they're depleting the sweetness of life. So you can put your hand on that area. You could let your fingertips move into that area and massage it. You could make a healing sound. Master Chia teaches, and I teach, the 6 healing sounds. So the sound that you would make to release negativity from that left side is like the if anybody saw the movie Star Wars, Darth Vader and the way Darth Vader breathed. A very guttural who, W-H-O. And as you're making that exhale with the guttural who sound, you can press with your fingertips right in that solar plexus area from the front towards the back, compressing your belly towards your back. And that kind of squeezes out that anxiety and that worry and that tension and that discomfort that's at the solar plexus and left of the solar plexus area. And as you breathe in, you could breathe in phoenix energy and yellow and gold and the Buddha nature. And I always think of butterscotch puddings myself because of the sweetness of life. So you could just imagine butterscotch pudding right there, a huge bowl of yummy butterscotch pudding that you can dive into right there in that area where you have the stress on the left-hand side. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to think about with those areas, and definitely poor circulation I've noticed has gone hand in hand with spleen things and that detoxification, that need for detoxifying.
And there's also, if you think that there's mythical animals associated with our 5 major organ systems, people on the line may know, but for those of you who don't, the phoenix is the animal associated with the spleen and pancreas. And if you think, what is the phoenix rises from the ashes. When it gets all burnt out, it just goes up in a puff of smoke and is reborn. So, every day you have an opportunity to be reborn as a new you every moment.
I think this was actually a really great question for it to be asked, because especially when we're talking about stress and we're talking about these times where people really are very worried and very anxious about a lot of things in their life, thinking of that phoenix energy and transforming that is, I think, really an important thing to keep in mind, because I think there's a lot of people that are kind of...
I don't think there's probably nobody on your call, Jesse, who thinks that energy and metaphysical stuff is airy-fairy and not something worth considering. But for people who just want to lay down and push a button, I'll disclose that I'm a distributor of this energy delivery product called a Beamer, B-E-M-E-R, and Beamers do help microcirculation. They improve it by up to 30%. So just by pushing a button for 8 minutes in the morning, you improve your circulation wherever it's stuck by 30%, and then there's special applicators that you can put against those areas, like people with fatty liver degeneration, where you can begin to move those fluids. So there's also technologies that are available. The Beamer does it better than anybody. We have some studies to prove that. But those are things that people can do if they just want to lay and rest and push a button as well. And, you can make it certainly more powerful if while you're doing an energy delivery session like that, or if you're getting hands-on work that's helping you in that way to move energy, to imagine and use your mind or vibrate with the chanting or making sounds like we talked about, or gently moving, those parts of your body. So we can marry different technologies together to get a more potent effect.
We can definitely do that. And for those that are looking to just push a button, sometimes, yes, using these types of tools can then help open up the energy, which then leads to other things. But using it alone, eventually you want to get to where you're going to look at that issue that's causing it.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Beyond. Now, also if you can maybe give us a little insight, why is it that once we get one problem fixed, it seems like another one shows up?
Well, the short answer to that, Jesse, is that we're human beings, and the earth is not about perfection. I read this book that was supposed to be channeled from beings on the Pleiades, and they said that us beings here on the earth chose to learn through negativity. So, I don't know, maybe it's if there is life in other parts of the galaxy or other galaxies and they choose to learn through positivism, maybe it's different someplace else, but we seem to have a very strong model here on Earth of learning through negativity, and we actually really we tend to hero-eyes people who, like me, who faced adversity and transformed their life and turned it into something positive. That just seems to be part of the life lessons here on Earth, and I encourage people to begin to shift that. So on my website, on the homepage, drlindaberry.com, you can click on the video on the homepage, and that's Dr. Linda's Fivefold Path to Bliss. So that's a stepwise practice of first eliminating what's irritating you. And, some people get addicted to what's irritating them because it's giving them hormone rushes of adrenaline and it makes them feel alive. But if you want to be healthy and whole and you're getting sick from having a lifestyle like that, I urge you to reconsider and identify and eliminate what's irritating you. And if you can't, then you've got to accept it and be okay with it and move forward. with your life. So that's number one. Eliminate what's irritating you. Next, you've got to nourish yourself. And nourishing yourself goes beyond food. It goes to love. It goes to community. It goes to service. It goes to art and nature and beauty. Then the next one is to get comfortable in your body. So if you're hating your body, I don't think you're ever going to have the opportunity to feel healthy and whole. So I would encourage you to do what you need to do to develop a positive attitude about the body that you inhabit. Number 4 is to use your natural resources, and that's the smile. So that's what I offer you for free on my website, smileintodistress.com or drlindaberry.com. You can sign up for that in the right sidebar. So smiling. Love in your heart. Start an I love you practice for yourself. I think that's really important. And then sexuality. So 25% of the population, if what I read 20 years ago still holds, are not interested in sex. But within each of us, we've got some type of sexual apparatus, and that generates energy. And we can use that to feed our brain. We can use that to heal our body. We can use that to literally turn on our vitality, our creativity, our enjoyment of life. And the final one is to love, honor, and respect yourself as well as those around you. So just simply doing that step-by-step process. Eliminate what irritates you, nourish yourself, accept yourself, your body, get comfortable in your body, use your natural resources, smile, heart, love, heart being love, and your sexuality, and then finally love, honor, and respect yourself as well as others, I think can be an amazing path, Jesse, for getting through those roadblocks that are constantly there. You know, life is going to continue to offer us challenges. I'm a water person. I'm born in July, and so water element of Cancer, and I'm a water dragon in the Chinese astrology. And so I kind of think of myself as water flowing in a creek, and there's going to be boulders and stones and branches along the way, but you can keep flowing under, around, above, through those obstacles. We just need to remember who we are and recognize that divinity within us.
And it is very important to definitely own that aspect that we have, and to own loving ourselves and having that self-respect, and that comes no matter what. You know, that's something you have to give yourself, no matter what's going on there, and certainly can be done. And I had another comment up here in the chat area that I was trying to get to. Let's see, when a new manifestation is requested, previous creation that is in the way must be resolved first, so therefore whatever is in the way will come to you. So it's kind of like, I think, when we need to get a new thing happening in our lives, sometimes we've got to get that, what we thought we were doing, out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. And what came to mind, Jesse, is, as you were saying that, is some work called constellation work and also NLP. And so in NLP, there's exercises where you create what you want, and then you step into that. And just by moving to the right or to the left or behind you or, forward, you step into a new reality. So it's just a little exercise that you can do. If you're stuck in this place now, imagine what you want, put it someplace around you, and then step into that new reality, that new you. That's an NLP technique. And then constellation work, a lot of what's in the way is caca that happened in our family structures. They believe that, for instance, if somebody, an uncle, for instance, died a violent death, then a child, their nephew, their niece, a grandchild might take on the unresolved trauma from that ancestor, that relative, and it manifests in them as sickness and disease. So finding practitioners who do family constellation work can be very powerful in helping people to transform, get rid of what's in the past in order to receive what it is that they want in the present for their future.
Exactly. And that's definitely a key thing there. Now, you have something that you do where you use 3 parts of the brain to help people heal trauma.
Right.
Would you like to share with us about that?
Yeah, now this is a very simple model, Jesse and listeners. And the brain is, of course, much more complex than this. But if you could think of it symbolically as having 3 parts. So at the base of the brain is the primitive part of the brain. That's what we call the reptile, or the monkey. And, the monkey doesn't get what it needs and it starts screaming and acting out. And there's not much that you can do. It's just going to happen automatically. This is out of your conscious control. It's like when you see something that's scary and your heart starts beating faster. You don't think about your heart starting beating faster, and maybe you can use your higher brain to calm down your heart, but it's just something that jumps into action. Then the middle part of your brain is the part that's about emotions and self-care and nurture. And then there's the higher brain, and the higher brain is our thinking brain, the part of our brain that we can use to observe what's happening in the rest of our body and begin to unravel it, uncouple it, to untangle it, so that we get rid of the tension. So using our focus, we can begin to notice, oh, my heart's beating fast. Oh, there's tension in my body. Oh, I'm not breathing very deeply. And then just through that higher consciousness brain, we begin to soothe and calm the reptile or the screaming monkey, and then the mid part of the brain is soothed and you start to feel better emotionally.
Yeah, and that's a big piece there to recognize how to shift between these and how to use each one in there.
Well, and I think also
definitely.
just having that understanding, that when people get upset, it's normal that they start taking shallow breaths. It's normal that their heart starts beating faster. It's normal that they get tension. They're not doing anything wrong. Their body's not betraying them. It's just the natural response of your body so that you can survive, so that you can run from the tiger, so that you can run when the volcano's erupting and get the heck away from there so you can survive, to get the blood to your legs so you can get out of there faster. This is a normal reaction, but what's not good, Jesse, is when that becomes your constant experience, when you're always looking over your shoulder at what's dangerous instead of noticing when you're okay. Remember, we need 5 times those positive inputs to soothe for each one negative.
And definitely, those were meant to help us to get those little adrenaline rushes, but we weren't meant to hold on to all of that stress and tension and remain in that space, as you say. Right. And I think that's a big key and a big aspect on things, is that we weren't meant to remain there.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
And it's just really interesting, all these different things. Now, you said that you had an exercise you wanted to share with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love for you to delve into doing that.
And how long do I have, Jesse?
We've got, I can give you about, let's see here, 20 25 minutes that we still have to work with? We got lots of time.
Okay, great. All right. So for all the listeners, if you would just make yourself comfortable. I myself am sitting in a chair. So I'm going to notice my bottom sitting on the chair. I'm going to notice the back of the chair supporting my back. I'm going to notice my feet touching the ground, and perhaps you could do that too. Or if you're lying down, you could notice the surface underneath you supporting you. Or if you're walking, you could imagine the gentle breeze caressing you, the air around you. You could notice the earth underneath you with every step. You could also notice the heavens above you. And even if you're sitting, I encourage you to begin to do that, to notice your feet touching the earth, and then maybe allow your consciousness, your thought, to follow that energy from your feet down into the earth, to ground, to the center of the earth. You might imagine that you're sending an anchor down, or that you're drilling a cable down into the center of the earth, something that's going to connect you to the earth, to the stability, to the cool provider for us. And knowing that through your feet there's a channel that you can receive that earth energy. And as you breathe, you can breathe in that stability, that cool cave type of energy, the safe place, breathing it in through your feet, being connected to stability and safety. And then if you would imagine that something's got your back. In the Taoist system, we think of the cobra, how the cobra came up behind Buddha and flared itself wide to protect the Buddha from the back. You can imagine that you have some strength or an ancestor behind you protecting you. And above you, you can imagine connecting through the crown of your head, to the top of your head, to the earth, or to the heavenly energies, to the sky energies, to the sun. And you can receive energy as you breathe in from the heavenly forces, that expansive, warm, heated energy as you breathe in. You can breathe that into the top of your skull, top of your head, warming and balancing with the cool earth energy, giving you just the mix that you need. Earth energy coming from below, heavenly energy coming from above, protected on all sides and through the mid-eyebrow point, receiving cosmic energy like the stardust, like the trees, like the wind, like the rain. Feel those primal forces coming in through your mid-eyebrow point. And gently, gently, very gently, lifting up the corners of your mouth and your eyes into a smile. When you do that, you automatically begin to secrete happy hormones. So there's an expression, fake it until you make it. So just by lifting up the corners of your mouth and the corners of your eyes, you can begin to fake it, and happy hormones can begin to be produced. You'll start a new habit for yourself. So feel those happy hormones beginning to be secreted as you smile, combining with the earth, the cosmic, and the heavenly energy, and letting them come in, and maybe you imagine it's a liquid that's dripping in an elixir, or maybe you imagine it's colors that are streaming into you, or perhaps for you it's sounds that are washing over you and through you, or maybe there's a little motion that's going on in your body. You might be swaying or rocking as you're receiving this blended smile, earth, cosmic, and heavenly energy. It makes a magic elixir that can heal and nourish you. So now with your gentle focus, I'd like you to just notice, is there any part in your body where you're holding tension? Is there a memory that's bothering you? If there is, you could allow this elixir that's combined from the heaven, the earth, and the cosmos, empowered and revitalized by your smile, moving down into that area of your heart. And in your heart, if you can imagine, what does it feel like when you feel love? Is there a glowing feeling? Is there a warmth? Is there an acceptance that happens? Is there an expansion? And allow this energy of the heaven, the earth, the cosmos, and your smile to move into your heart and blend with this expansive love energy, the warmth of the love. And let that power, that new, gentle, strong power, begin to move into any areas or any memories or any part of your brain where there's stress or upset. You might just look at that area where there is stress and upset, and what does it look like? Is it encapsulated? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it dried out? Is there a color? Just begin to notice what's going on in that particular part of your body, mind, or spirit. Is there a dark color there? Is there a bad sound or a bad smell that's associated with that part? And let's move into your wise woman or wise man self and begin to just notice that part where it's stuck, the part that's holding on, the part that's injured or hurting. And see if you could practice compassion for yourself for having such a problem. If you could experience compassion for your body for having this trouble. And can you allow that compassion energy to combine with love, with your smile and happy hormones, with the stability of the earth, with the protections around you, with the heavenly energy, the warmth, the sun, and with the cosmic sparkling energies of dew and stars and light on grasses and trees and branches and leaves and needles of the trees. Just imagine all that sparkle combining into you. It's so joyous, isn't it? To let that expand and start to feel your being, that part of you where there's tension, that part of you where you were hurt. Can you let in some of this goodness? And how does it help you? Is it a soothing balm? Is it untangling knots that's going on? Is it a gentle massage from the inside? Is the sound of my voice sinking into that part and the vibrations of the sound of my voice beginning to melt and release whatever tension or pain that you're experiencing? And as the pain and the negativity drains away, what takes its place? A beautiful light, a beautiful color? What color is it for you? Orange, pastel green, purple, a beautiful clear red, yellow. Is it blue? Is there a particular sensation, a tingling, a warmth, a feeling of electricity, a feeling of expansion, a feeling of letting go, a feeling of lightness, or maybe a feeling of density and solidity in your body that's taking the place as you transform this negative energy into a new vitality, a new purpose, a new quality in your life. If you're feeling tension around your heart, maybe that hatred or rushingness or upset can transform into love, righteousness. If it's in your kidneys area, in your low back or around your bladder, maybe you can transform fear into gentleness. If it's in your liver on the right side under your rib cage, the tension, let go of anger and transform that into kindness, especially for yourself. And as you come up and over to your lungs, allow your lungs to release sadness and transform that sadness into courage. And finally, sinking into the left side of your solar plexus area, transforming anxiety and worry into the sweetness of life, into fairness, into balance, into your own Buddha nature. Feeling your feet connected to the earth, your heavenly connection to what's above you, your cosmic connection through your mid-eyebrow, protected. And noticing that place that we were talking about earlier in the show, the refuse recycling center, sending any last bits of garbage, caca, any upset, any tension into that refuse recycling center, and allowing that to be dissolved or transmuted, transformed, digested, chopped up, burned into ash, liquefied and rinsed away. And what comes in its place is your treasure chest, or perhaps for you it's like a crystal ball. And the facets of the crystal ball are shining more brightly as you're filling them with this elixir of loving, smiling, cosmic, heavenly earth energy. Yes. Or for you, perhaps, it's a pearl, a big, beautiful pearl. And every time you have a positive thought, you create a thicker layer on your pearl so that your pearl becomes more lustrous and beautiful, reflecting all of the colors of the rainbow as you think your positive thoughts and transform whatever is negative into goodness in your body. You have the pathways, you have the architecture, you have the chemicals in your body to transform stress into vitality, to power your life and to power your dreams. So I invite you now to allow the goodness that you created, this new magic potion right inside of your own being. And as you breathe in, imagine that with every breath, it's expanding and circulating through all of the places in your body. And as you exhale, it's being delivered into the cells, into your bones, into your joints, into your brain, into your organs, into your glands, into your beautiful skin and hair and nails and teeth, into every single little part of you, until every single little part of you creates a beautiful, glowing, vibrating, pulsating you, vibrating with new, nourishing energy to sustain you and excite you. And if this is a time for you to go to sleep, know that this excitement can carry you into a deep and peaceful and restful sleep, deeper and more peaceful perhaps than you've ever had before. And if you're moving into another busy part of your day, allow this to recharge you and revitalize you so that you can keep sparkling in whatever you choose to do throughout the rest of your day. And if it's the beginning of your day, just notice that you're waking up with new vitality, with new energy, and with new radiance in every single part of your being. And let that continue to reflect in your face with a smile, in your lips and in your eyes. And if you're going to encounter anybody else after you complete listening to our time together today, let that smile spread out. Let it infect others. Go viral with your smile, your empowered smile, your fortified smile, so that your smile can begin to enliven and transform those around you. We create a tidal wave of goodness and beauty and love between ourselves and our fellow human beings and fellow creatures on the planet. Feeling yourself a part of a larger community, safe in that larger community, accepted in that larger community, full of exactly who you are, not hiding yourself, and letting go of wounds so that you can move into your present and into the future that you deserve. You are needed. You are needed as a whole and healthy you. Come forth now, whole and healthy, totally you. And know that throughout your day, throughout your next day, throughout your next week, that you can come back to the same place, the same energy, the same electrical charge, the same biochemical beauty and radiance by just lifting up the corners of your mouth and lifting up the corners of your eyes, breathing in, feeling a part of the goodness of all, and breathing out, allowing yourself first to receive this goodness and then spreading it beyond you as you are fully nourished. And as a way to store this energy inside of you, you could put your hand just below your belly button and feel the warmth sinking into the mid-abdomen area. And you can begin to spiral that energy, storing the light in the crystal ball, adding another layer to your pearl, or closing up your treasure chest to guard and protect your treasures, spiraling in one direction, out from your belly button to the outside, and then spiraling in smaller and smaller spirals until those spirals end at your navel, spiraling and smiling, feeling the love, feeling the protection. Feeling the connection to the earth. Feeling the connection to the heavens. And feeling the connection to the cosmos, coming in your mid-eyebrow point, streaming in, lighting you up, making you more solid, more firm, more whole, healing, guiding, letting you be you. And when you're ready, you can begin to notice the sounds in the room around you or in the area where you're at around you. And then you may gently begin to stretch your body, Opening your fingers, moving your toes gently, maybe wiggling your body just a little bit, feeling your back against the surface that you might be lying on or sitting on. And then as it's appropriate, you might gently open your eyes if your eyes were closed. And then look around and notice that you're safe. Notice the comfort that you might be experiencing at this moment. Taking yourself into present time. And now, just imagining that there's one particular word that you can assign to the experience that you just had. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's release, maybe it's joy. Could it be ease or comfort? What is the word for you? And why don't you place your hand on a part of your body that you can use as an anchor? Where do you feel this goodness most? Is it in your head? Is it in your belly? Is it above your heart? So placing your hand in that area where you feel the most goodness. Maybe there's a color. Could be any color you like. Nice, clear, beautiful color. Any color of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, or violet. And noticing that light, that color. Is it inside you or around you? Is it a new skin that you wear? And how thick is it? Is it just floating on the surface, or does it go deep inside of you and radiate out? Anchoring, finding anchors for this experience so that later in the day, tomorrow, next month, next year, you can think of this word. You can imagine this color. You can touch that part of you and bring yourself back to the state of release and of peace in a blink of an eye, in a second's time. Joining it with the power of your smile to create a beautiful experience for you in every moment of your day. Now we know that we're humans and that there's not going to be perfection. But even in that, there can be some beauty. So having some space for mistakes of yourself and of others around you. Forgiving yourself, forgiving those who've hurt you, so that you can move on into a brilliant and beautiful and radiant present and future. Now it's yours now. You don't have to wait. Now you may have beauty. Now you may have peace. Now you may have love. It's all inside of you. So when you're ready, you can come back. Join Jesse and me as we finish up our time together. If any of you have questions for the chat room, please enter them now. And also remember You can always contact me through my website, www.drlindaberry.com. There's a contact me page. I'm always available to you, and I'll do my best to get back to you within 1 to 2 days if you have any questions or comments or concerns. So, Jessie.
That was really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And what a great way to kind of wrap everything up. And I'm glad you got your information in there. And, of course, your website is at the bottom of our show description for anybody who would, like to contact you and to go there and take advantage of any of the free things that you have available there, which we've talked about earlier in the show. And certainly I encourage anybody who's missed any part of the show to go back and listen to it in the archives and to catch what you missed, because Dr. Linda has shared a tremendous amount of gifts and information and knowledge with us tonight. And I thank you so much. And I want to just say namaste.
Namaste. Honor the light within you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, anybody who would like to contact Dr. Linda can do so on our website, www.drlindaberry.com, and that's DRLINDABERRY.com. Next week on our show here, we're going to have Regina Nichols with her work, Unflappable 6 Steps to Staying Happy, Centered, and Peaceful No Matter What. We will be looking at human communication and spirituality, creating new neural pathways, and conflict reduction. My next set of books, which is based on relationships, I'm working on getting out to you. Like I said, it is in just needing to get through the publishing process, basically, at this point. And that's going to deal with how we all take on masculine and feminine energy roles, no matter what sex we're born into. I do have several events coming up here through the end of August. Do go ahead and check those out at jessieannicholsgeorge.eventbrite.com. And I am working on putting together that 2013 Compassion Tour, so you can also watch for events there for that as well. You can also stay in contact with me, check out videos that I have, tools that I have available, the work I'm doing, connect with me, look at my blog, things like that, services that I offer. All of those things can be done through my website at jessieannicholsgeorge1, that's the number 1.com. And there's also a section on there for Main Street Universe where you can follow all of our hosts, catch upcoming shows as well as all of our archive shows. Each host and each show has its own page there, so it's a great place to go. Again, the information from Yehudaberg, which I shared at the beginning of the show, is posted on there from week to week, so you can always go back and look at that there as well. And the information for all of this show and my websites and things also at the bottom of today's show description. My books are available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and through Smashwords. And so you can get it in basically all different types of formats, whatever works for you with that. I also have a campaign going on for the 2013 Compassion Tour through Indiegogo. You can connect with that. There are different things that I have available for different gifting levels there, and that's at indiegogo.com/the-compassion-tour-2013. And the special that I have for the month of July right now is the opportunity to receive shorter coaching and reading sessions. I'm offering a 20-minute session for $30 and a 10-minute session for $15. To take advantage of that, you simply email me at jessie@jessieannicholsgeorge1.com. And I've actually, continuing that special over from last month. So I've had several people that said I really want to take advantage of your services. So I chose to go ahead and extend that. And also, one of the most recent services that I've opened up to offer people is Jessie's Quantum Club. And you can discover more about that at jessiesquantumclub.eventbrite.com. There's a great video where you can learn more about it, and it's using quantum energy work to just kind of help bring some of that positive, incredible energy into your sphere and into your life, which helps you kind of get on track and help you take hold for yourself. So that's a great option there. Don't forget that we've got several shows right here on Main Street Universe throughout the week. Sunday nights is Darren Bouquet, who's a reader at Madame Laveau in New Orleans, doing spiritual insights. Monday nights we have Kevin Baird walking on the sidewalk using his Horizon Oracle Journeys deck, a deck that he created. You can find out more about that deck at templeofgaia.com. Tuesdays we have Inner Wisdom with Mary Phelan. Wednesday nights we have Daniel, Janice, and Brett on our flagship show, which is called Main Street Universe. They've oftentimes got topics and things that they're discussing on their guests. They've been bringing more guests on lately. And then we have a brand new hostess with our network, which is Queen Mother Amaku, and she's discussing her work with Egyptian culture. She's on Thursdays doing her work there. And, of course, right here on Friday nights is Activating Compassion in the midnight hour. And I really want to thank everybody for being here. This is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I look forward to seeing you back here next week as we delve more into activating compassion. Don't forget that if you've enjoyed the show here this evening, which we've had some incredible things happening on this show, incredible exercises, share it with others. It's going to be available at the same link in our archives. And I'm going to be leaving you tonight with the song Yearning For, also known as Over and Over. It's by Shemshai, the same music group that I talked about at the beginning of the show. And I just want to say thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again next week right here on Activating Compassion in the midnight hour. May you enjoy the rest of your weekend and have an amazing week.
And if I could see what makes me blind, I would soar to the edge of my mind and to touch what seems unreal, just to show you the way that I feel. And we are in time with time, one with the season of change inside. And we are in tune with the tune, caught in a balance of sun and moon. Oh, deep inside, the light within, shining to show you it's here to begin. When all I have is all I need, I will soar to the edge of eternity. And we see it eye to eye, one within love to be for the divine. And we're walking hand in hand, caught in the balance of God and man. Over and over, life is your lover, learning to walk just a little bit slower, whispering secrets, I bet you can't keep it. No turning back now, this time we reveal it. One to another, all will discover the essence within the most beautiful lover. Time is still turning, the love is still burning. Deep in your spirit, your heart is still yearning for. Yearning for. in my life when all we have is all we need. All that we ask for shall be received. And we see in eye to eye, one within love to be for the divine. And we're walking hand in hand, caught in the balance of God and man. And we are in time with time, one with the season of change inside. And we are in tune with the tune of life in the circle and love in bloom. Over and over, life is your lover, learning to walk just a little bit slower, whispering secrets, I bet you can't keep it. No turning back now, this time we reveal it. One to another, all will discover the essence within the most beautiful lover. Time is still turning, the love is still burning. Deep in your spirit, your heart is still yearning for. Over and over, life is yours.